welcome to or welcome back to my channel. As promised, I am back for episode 4 of season 5 Insecure Review. So we're gonna jump straight into this episode. This one was about Nathan, and it started off, it was beach vibes, good vibes, and I believe this beach party was a celebration because Nathan's store opening it's been a year now. So I think he's this if I mean they didn't say, but I'm thinking this is what he had asked Issa to help him with. And so that's what this celebration is for. So he's there and he's basically telling everyone, like, y'all enjoy yourselves. The food is almost coming because one of his friends, I believe it said his name was Mo, is supposed to be bringing food such as, the meat, because it's like cookout style type thing, barbecue vibes, and he is nowhere to be found. So then we see Issa, Kelly, and Molly approaching the beach, and everybody's looking fly. I must say, Molly's new haircut is looking fresh. Her attitude is much better because therapy works, people. And Issa is basically telling her, like, she's a bit concerned. You can see that Issa is just like unsettled and uneasy because, the vibes with Nathan are a bit up in the air because, as we remember from, I think, episode 2, when she asked him to stay over, and then that whole thing where they started kissing and then she started crying, like, yeah, that was awkward. And he basically left in the middle of the night, and since then they have not spoken. And it seems, well, she said it's been a week since then, so they've texted but they haven't really addressed the issue, and that's the reason why she's feeling awkward. So in true Issa fashion, I mean, they all go over there to kind of speak to Nathan, and then he had 2 friends with him, I think. Aaron and what was the other guy's name? Aaron and Mo, I think. But anyways, they're over there, they're all talking. Molly is giving one of the dudes the eye, and Molly, Kelly, Mo, and Aaron, they go off to get drinks. And when I tell y'all, Issa is just being Issa, like, so awkward, so weird, because the secondhand embarrassment was real. Issa was talking about everything and anything that just and she just kept going. And I was just over here like, oh my god, stop. She even went as far as to bring up the weather. She was like, oh my god, I think it might be 76 degrees. Oh no, it might be 80, 82. I was just like, oh my god, Issa, shut up. But anyways, he was just looking at her mad weird, like, yeah, okay. And then he just kind of walked off. I must say, Nathan's vibes are really just kind of giving, I don't really want to talk to you right now. But Issa is really trying to make things right. So Issa makes her way back over to Molly and Kelly, and she tells them, I think he's still mad at me, him being Nathan. And Kelly was making a drink, and then Issa's like, I thought you said you gave up drinking. And she was like, I did, this is for you. So Kelly tells her, like, look, you just need to loosen up or whatever. And they all just decide to head off with the guys. And I think one of the guys asked them if they wanted to play spades. Poor Issa. Issa doesn't know how to play spades. And I mean, maybe I'm Issa because I don't know how to play spades either. So Issa was like, would y'all teach me? And they were like, no. The age for teaching you is like at around 16. So you can just observe, basically. So they all get to the table, and Molly, Kelly, and the 2 guys, they're playing spades, and Issa is just there, really. And she starts to take notice of Nathan and Risha, who are on the beach. Risha we met in earlier episodes. And I mean, it was just the way they were positioned, because Nathan was like helping her with her shoe. She was like dead in front of him, and the position was just weird, because how she was, and because he was lower and attending to her shoe, his face was essentially lined up dead with her like lady parts, and she's endowed, so it just looked weird. So we're hearing Issa's thoughts is almost like she's thinking, no, they're definitely together, no, they're not together, no, they're definitely together. And then eventually she can't take she like can't deal with it anymore, and so she gets up and heads to the bar. And while doing that, Risha sees her and calls out, like, hey Issa, da, 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 da. And she turns around like, hey, how are you? You know how Issa is, just being weird. And eventually the girl leaves and she goes to the beach, and then Issa takes the opportunity to try to speak to Nathan again and asks him, like, hey, are we cool, yada yada yada. And in her own awkward way. And I mean, even just the way he was acting just kind of made it justified why Issa was being weird, because he was like, yeah, we're cool, but the vibe that he was giving, it was very obvious that he was just like over her, like probably just didn't want to talk to her. And that was the end of that conversation, because then his other friend, which is the third guy that he was waiting on with the food, I think his name was Shug, he finally shows up, and instead of bringing meat, dude comes with a stack of Domino's pizza. Domino's is not my thing, but I was like, okay, whatever, at least he's there with the food. He hands it over to Nathan after he's just like, really, dude? And there's a whole like earthquake situation, and the pizzas all fall on the ground. And I guess whoever is attending on the beach, I don't know if it's a lifeguard or whoever, was just like, there may be a tsunami or whatever, so we're gonna evacuate the beach. And dude was like, I just arrived, the party just started, so I'm not leaving. That's the friend. And literally took a dirty ass piece of pizza off the sand, which like sand sticks to everything, and ate it and just kept on living his best life. But everyone else started evacuating, and Nathan decided like we're all gonna go to this bar called Sharpies and continue the celebrations there. Now while leaving, we're seeing that Issa is getting I guess notifications, because she had made a post earlier. And of course, who is there? Crenshaw, which is played by Kofi, that we saw, I believe it was in episode 1 where he had the fashion show. Remember, he was old, he was very tight about the situation, and even though he got like accolades and recognition from the whole thing, he still has hurt feelings towards, I guess, how Issa dealt with the whole situation of the, the guy who she works for, like saying like he doesn't want it to be too, black, urban. And yeah, he was just doing the most and showing shade online. So I believe it was this scene, is either this scene or when she was, I think they're on their way now. Everybody's in an Uber, and she hit him up in his DM to say like, hey, what's your problem? Like, is this how you say thanks for basically putting you on? And instead of responding to it, he took a screenshot and made a public post. And of course, she was irritated, she was annoyed, but then she decided to just let it be and let it ride its wave of cross social media, because eventually it will die down. So, still in the Uber, Issa decides to text Molly to say like the driver is crazy because he was rambling on about some conspiracy theory about what he thought the earthquake was some kill switch that the government is testing out, just a complete lunatic. And then Molly is just like, she can't hear a thing because Kelly and Risha are in the back having a whole moment that she was like a whole was it a Super Soul Sunday moment. Issa eventually tells her about her suspicions about Nathan and Reese, and Molly did not play around. Molly was like, well, if we want to know, we want to know. And she asked Reese directly, like, hey, are you and Nathan like a thing? And Reese was like, oh no, girl, that's like my brother. Why, you like him? And she was just like, no, just asking. She was like, well, let me know, girl, if you change your mind. She was like, well, I'll keep you posted. So that being the case, Issa just resolved, well, I guess he just doesn't want anything to do with me. And yeah, so then we cut to his car, which is Nathan's car, with his two friends, and they're just talking shit. The friends are talking about Molly, which is just like weird to me. Like, how are you friends and you both like the same person? Is that not strange? But yeah, one of them was just like, I think it was Eric, was just like, and wouldn't it be weird if wouldn't it be funny if I ended up dating your girl's girl? And he was just like, well, she's not my girl, Nathan. And that's how he was just like, well, she's not my girl. And that's how we started to hear his perspective on like, he was just like, oh, she's just like all over the place. And then he started to tell them like what happened the other day and why he felt the way he felt. Basically, I think he felt like she just didn't want to be there with him, and that's why she was crying. But of course, we find out later on in the episode that that's not the reason. And also, who is Nathan to be judging people about them being all over the place? Sir, you are just starting to get your life together. Do not judge Issa. So they tease him a bit about like him being friend zoned, and then he gets a call. So the call is actually from his cousin. I believe his name was it Timmy or Tommy? I think it was Tommy. And Tommy's just like, hey, he was supposed to come to the beach party, but then obviously they've moved. So he tells him like, yeah, now we're going to Sharpies, the bar, so just meet us there. So now we're there, and Issa's literally trying to talk to Nathan again. And I feel like at this point, she just needed to just leave it alone, because the vibe was still off. And then his cousin comes up to him with his wife, and they get to talking, but it's very awkward. Like, the vibe is just, something is off, especially from the wife. It's like she's doing all these weird subliminals, throwing shade, like, oh yeah, you move like a leaf type thing, like he's unreliable or something like that, I think she was trying to say. But Issa's trying to break that awkwardness by making things more awkward. And then while they get to talking, we find out that these people are not like they're out of town or anything. They actually live like in a nearby city. So Issa was just like, oh, I didn't know like you had family here. You never mentioned it. And, this is how we know something is just not right. So Eric gets a text message from a friend about a Jason Derulo party that's gonna be happening. And I mean, Mo is super excited, completely finding out and literally saying Jason Derulo, which I thought was like, really? I didn't even realize like Jason Derulo was this big of an artist to have people like, obsessed or, fanning out. But yeah, Mo is a fan. So they all decided to go over there, and only for when they get there for it to turn out that Aaron actually only has a +1, and he literally brought a whole group full of people with him. So of course, poor Mo thought he was gonna get in, but in the end, Aaron decided to take Molly, and Mo was so disappointed. He was like, Jason Derulo. But eventually, Molly goes inside, and after waiting outside for a whole hour, everybody else besides Eric and Molly. Then Molly texts Issa to say like she found a way that they could all come in through the, I guess, like a back door or a side door. And so, everybody was gone, except Nathan and his cousin. So his cousin was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go. I'm not as young as I used to be. And he was there trying to convince him, like, you know what, you should stay or whatever. And eventually he was like, nah, I'm gonna just go, the kids this and blah blah blah. And eventually it leads into a conversation that looks like it's very like long overdue, because Nathan is under the impression that it was Tommy's wife that I guess kicked him out or didn't want him around. And it turns out that Tommy was actually the one who wanted him gone, because from how he tells it, like Nathan was just, doing the most, coming in, leaving when he wants to, leaving the doors unlocked, which were, obviously a problem because he has kids. But what they don't know is that, of course, he's bipolar and that he was having a manic episode. He didn't even know at the time. And I thought this was a great opportunity for him to say something, but he didn't say anything. Instead, I think it just kind of, I guess, came as a shock to him that it was actually his cousin that wanted him out. But his cousin was just saying, like, I thought it was best, or we thought it was best to just put it on her. I guess it would have been easier to hear it from your cousin's wife than your cousin. So anyway, he just kind of stood there. His cousin left, and then Issa came and asked him, are you all right or whatever? And if he's gonna come in, and he was just like, he's gonna take a minute, and he kind of went off to the side at like the edge of a cliff by himself. And I was just like, oh no, is Nathan? Yeah, but no, it wasn't anything like that. He was okay. So eventually Issa goes over there and he tells her like what just transpired and what he finds out. And this is where we're really hearing from him that he was having a manic episode and so on. And then after he comes forward with everything like that, Issa comes forward with her truth about why things happened the way it happened when he was at the house, and saying that she was overwhelmed and so on. And eventually, I mean, even though it's only a week later, because she was saying like at the time she thought she was ready, but then during the moment she realized she wasn't ready. I mean, 7 days later, apparently she's ready, because she says she realized she doesn't just want to be friends. He says he realized he also just doesn't want to be friends. And then next thing they kiss each other, which I don't know. For me, I don't hate Nathan, but I feel like Issa just kind of needs to move forward. If it's not going to be Lawrence, I don't feel like it should be Nathan either, because I feel like he has his own set of unique problems and he's just getting his own footing, similar to her finally finding her independence, like with her work and so on. But let's see where it goes. Once they kissed, there was like an aftershock of the earthquake, and that's where the episode ended. So yeah, guys, that was it for this week. This episode had a lot of little things that we could talk about. I liked knowing more about Nathan, and I think it's a good conversation starter for, persons who are struggling with mental health issues. And so talk to me in the comments about what you think about this Issa Nathan link up, how you feel about new Molly, new hair, who this. Kelly's always a sport. And yeah, share your thoughts with me, guys, and until next week, I will be here.